For decades, unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, were trapped in a strange cultural purgatory. On one side, credible pilots and radar operators reported objects they couldn't explain in our skies. On the other, the US government actively dismissed these claims, pushing the topic to the fringes of conspiracy and pop culture. That dynamic broke in 2017 when the existence of a secretive Pentagon UAP research program spilled into public view. Over the next several years, the pressure compounded. High-ranking intelligence officials sat before Congress and swore under oath that the government was concealing physical evidence of non-human intelligence. Yet the Pentagon's official Anomaly Resolution Office, ARO, maintained a rigid baseline position. They had examined the classified files and found zero verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial technology or hidden reverse engineering programs. By the beginning of 2026, the stigma of discussing UFOs was dead, but the institutions holding the data were locked in a stalemate. The public demanded evidence, and the government insisted there was nothing to see. That stalemate shattered in February 2026. President Donald Trump issued an executive directive demanding maximum transparency regarding UAP files across the entire federal government. To execute this order, the administration created PURSUE, the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP encounters. This centralized system forced the declassification and release of historical UAP archives onto a public portal. This required coordination across a massive bureaucratic footprint. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence, NASA, the FBI, and the Department of Energy all had to scrape their internal records and submit them for public release. The effort was spearheaded by the Department of War under Secretary Pete Hegseth, marking a stark pivot for the military from being the primary concealer of UAP data to its lead distributor. When the war.gov/UFO portal went live, the posture of the United States government inverted. The state was now legally bound to systematically dump its most controversial secrets directly onto the internet. The PURSUE initiative was designed as a series of rolling releases spanning the spring and summer of 2026. Stripping away the intense internet speculation, the raw files reveal exactly what the government had been tracking. In May, the first 2 tranches dropped gigabytes of data. This included early Project Blue Book summaries, mission reports from operating areas in the Middle East, and intelligence records pulled straight from the CIA and the Department of Energy. Release 3 followed in June. Alongside NASA astronaut debriefs from the 1960s, the drop included FBI reports and digital renderings of a completely unresolved encounter near the heavily fortified Cheyenne Mountain Complex in 2022. Then, in July, Release 4 published contemporary military aviator debriefs alongside historical files from the 1949 Los Alamos Conference on Aerial Phenomena. The sheer volume of this material settles one debate entirely. The United States government has consistently treated these anomalies as highly sensitive, active intelligence targets for over 8 decades. While the White House press office released statements explicitly referencing the goal of disclosing information on extraterrestrial life, the Pentagon's AARO division delivered a sobering reality check in its fiscal year 2025 consolidated report. This chart visualizes AARO's total holdings. By their data cutoff in May 2025, they had collected 1,870 reports. During the reporting period, investigators successfully resolved 370 of those cases, leaving the rest in the unresolved pool. When we break down the resolved column on this chart, a clear pattern emerges. Every single resolved case was attributed to a conventional source, ranging from commercial drones and balloons to airborne trash and atmospheric anomalies. And if we look closely at the unresolved column, the classification requires context. An unresolved status commonly means the observation lacked sufficient sensor metadata, like precise distance or speed measurements, to make a definitive identification. This exposes the core gap in the 2026 disclosures. Releasing a classified file provides access to the records, but the mystery persists. Transparency reveals the data, while the truth remains a separate, unproven conclusion. Back in Washington, this discrepancy between public document dumps and a lack of definitive answers quickly escalated into a fight over Democratic oversight. On June 25th, Lawmakers, intelligence insiders, and scientists gathered at the Russell Senate Office Building for the Disclosure Forum 2026. They were there to demand systemic changes to how the government handles anomalous data. A bipartisan coalition of representatives aggressively pushed for the UAP Disclosure Act. They demanded tools like subpoena power and legal amnesty for defense contractors and whistleblowers who were too terrified of violating non-disclosure agreements to come forward. Representatives aired deep frustrations over bureaucratic roadblocks and stonewalling from intelligence agencies, arguing that internal staff were actively resisting the president's transparency orders. The issue of UAP disclosure has moved entirely out of the fringe. It is now a mainstream constitutional battle for oversight, pitting elected members of Congress against the opaque layers of the intelligence community. Beyond the political friction, there are immediate physical vulnerabilities. The unsealed documents confirm repeated, unresolved incursions over highly sensitive military airspace, including active stealth fighter bases like Langley. So, while the Pursue portal successfully delivered thousands of pages of raw data, it has not yet provided a single piece of verified evidence to support the explosive claims of illegal crash retrievals or reverse engineering programs. Still, former insiders argue that hiding data behind overclassification severely damages military readiness. They argue the public is fully capable of processing the truth, even if that truth is highly disruptive. Resolving the mystery depends on a transition from reviewing archival documents to deploying active scientific instruments. True identification requires standardized, multimodal sensor networks that capture hard metadata, rather than relying on blurry videos and witness testimony. The Pursue disclosures forced an irreversible shift in state policy. By opening its archives, the most powerful government on Earth admitted that "we don't know" is no longer an acceptable answer to a security threat.